Hello,
Hello.
listeners. Welcome to another exciting exclusive episode on my Gigsters. If you're here for the first time and you're like, wow, what is this place? This is an exclusive podcast for all gig workers out there. You could be gigging anything.
Mm.
This is the destination for you to get the latest updates, stories from amazing people and brands, and all about the gig economy and the growing gig world. So I'm your host, Benjamin, and I also share the role of the CEO and founder of My Gigsters. So I would like you to welcome to this new show where I've got the father of all gigs in a way. Now, the word gig actually is prevalent in one industry, and if you haven't guessed it yet, that's the music industry. And this guest is someone that I've known for many months now, and it's being one of the passionate founders that I've seen in the industry trying to support a lot of people in the music industry. So let me welcome Pete.
Thank you
Pete
for having
is
me.
the CEO and founder of an amazing tool called SAMii, which we will talk about more now. But Pete, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. When I first heard of my gigsters, or even prior to that, when someone would say to me, "Hey, what's your gig? What do you do?"
Yeah.
I would say, "Well, I gig," because that's all I thought that the gig word meant. And then it became something that other industries adopted.
Yeah.
So you're right. Like I play gigs. I tell my friends that I can't go to their parties and their celebrations because I am gigging.
Yeah.
That's the word. That's what we used to say. We're gigging, and and now it's if you're a driver of a ride share,
Yep.
that's another form of a gig.
Let's take a straight deep dive into SAMii because
Mm-hmm.
I think the listeners would be curious by now. It's like, what is this
Well, I hope
SAMii
so.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
But before I tell or we show or tell what SAMii is all about, I wanted to unpack the story behind the foundation of SAMii.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the story? What brought you to make SAMii, and what is SAMii?
I don't know if I can swear. So can I? Can I ask that question?
Oh yes, you can.
Okay. So the music industry can be quite shit in regards to getting paid. So musicians that gig can only gig a certain amount of times per year,
Mhm.
and a lot of them become music educators. Some of them have to become educators because they can't make money from playing. Some of them get to become educators because the playing is only a certain amount of 42
Yeah.
nights of the year, 42 weekends of the year, whatever it might be. And then that is another set of problems. So music educators are musicians. Now, I'm not beating up musicians because I'm one myself. I've been a musician since the age of 0. But musicians are generally pretty average at business. And they don't want to be CEOs. They don't want to be business tycoons. They just want to go and play music. And if they get the opportunity like I did to go and teach music, then that creates a good income.
Yep.
But also creates the need for some process. I now have to invoice. I now have to chase payments. I have to schedule. I have to have assurances, credentials, licenses to go and teach in these places. But I'm a solo operator. I don't have a team. It's me as a music educator. Not talking SAMii just yet. So my journey is I play drums. I wanted to do more teaching. I started teaching more. I now play more in gigs than I've ever done because I'm happy to do it because I'm not trying to find the cash from every gig.
Yeah.
I get paid more than I've ever got paid because I'm more relaxed about it. But ultimately, I became a music educator because I like working in that space.
Yep.
And I know that there are many other music educators who are having trouble trying to manage and maintain and improve their business process. So that's what I have built in my product.
So, what's the one-liner of SAMii then? What does SAMii has to offer for this problem?
More, do less admin.
Awesome, awesome. Now, obviously, SAMii is solving a key problem, which is it's basically a management system where you get to manage your schedules, your students, payments,
Yep.
invoices. It's like the one-stop shop for running it as a business, but without having to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, why now? Why should SAMii exist now? And I know it's also unique and it's a really important problem, but why now?
It should have existed a long time ago. There's been various versions of it. My own world, 2013 is when I started automating a music teaching school that I was running, and it was just stuck together with Excel. Pretty average scenario, but it was just for my own business. I wasn't thinking about scaling or making it bigger. The reason that SAMii needs to exist now, and the reason that music educators should consider taking a look at this thing, is very simple. Everyone's busier than ever before. Things cost more than ever before. So why wouldn't there be the need to make things easier and help you earn more than you're earning by doing less of the stuff you don't want to do? The stuff you don't want to do being writing, chasing invoices, admin. I'm a musician. I really hate admin. I really, I've got the CEO role as the director of SAMii or the CEO of SAMii, only because I'm the only one doing the stuff. But I don't want to be a CEO. It's a glorified admin clerk. I don't want to be that person. I'll hire someone to do that when the time arises. But I just want to go and teach and know that I'm getting paid at the end of the week for every lesson that I give. So back to your question, why now? More like, why me? Why am I the one creating this? Because anyone else could have done this. Other people have tried, but they've missed the mark. They've forgotten the obvious. They've created something that replaces something, not removes something. So here is a cup of coffee. I'm going to pour it into a glass. It's still a coffee. It's the same problem, a different package. With what we've built, it's actually a simple process. It's a simple tool. We've made it so automated that you don't actually have to use the app. We're building an app, folks, that you don't have to use. That sounds a little bit weird, but we don't want to build something that a music educator or a user, because we're extending beyond music education, we don't want to build something that someone has to continually use. Because they're already using something. It just happens to be a paper form, and they have to still chase the paper, chase the invoice, chase the money. So we've built this thing in a way where you don't have to do that anymore. And we've ran some testing. We've given over 8,000 lessons since we started this thing through the platform. That's a lot of test data. We've brought in over 300,000 Australian dollars in revenue that has been distributed to those educators who are teaching. And not one educator has had to provide an invoice to their students and have to chase money. So we know it works. We know it's nice. So back to your question again. Why now? Well, why not earlier? It's always been a problem. Music educators have been, it's a cottage industry. It's a back of napkin. The music education industry is absolutely massive globally. Do you want some numbers?
Yeah, please.
So there is 1.2 billion kids between the age of 5 and 15 on the planet right now. Our research shows us that 1 in every 24 is having a music lesson. That's about 300 million kids every single week are having a lesson. Now, a private lesson, one-on-one with an educator. Not a classroom facilitated lesson, it's a one-on-one. So to have that many students already, we're not trying to convince people to get into cars with strangers. We're not trying to convince people to stay at home, in homes of strangers. That was the industry that was created, and it's working well. We're not creating anything new. That product, that process of going to a person to get your experience or your education increased is not unusual. Yet it's ran by beautiful, creative humans that like doing that, but don't like doing the business. So with the 300 million kids that have had a lesson or will have a lesson by the end of the week, they're taught by somebody who is a musician, I hope, if they're a music educator. They might not be. Hopefully they are. And we can divide those 300 students into 40 students per educator. That's a lot of educators. We can take a small percentage of that.
I can definitely say there's one of the things that in my gigsters we really appreciate from a philosophy of solution building is the done for you.
Mm.
When we get users, we've got musicians on our platform too, and we like, you don't have to do it. The system does it for you.
Yeah.
It's not a system it's not an app that I want you to open every day.
Yep. Totally.
You shouldn't be even doing it, to be honest. It is a system that works in the background, and it's a co-pilot.
Absolutely.
It does it for you while you're going and doing your gig, right?
Yep.
I like that, and I also think that's the bring the good that is shared about the numbers, which kind of tells the impact that this could make in helping the next generation of young kids getting quality music education.
Yeah.
Because it's not just stopping with the educators.
Totally.
By helping educators free up more time,
they can teach more.
They can teach more.
Yeah, and more kids can have lessons.
Kids can have lessons.
The other impact's a very important word. The other impact is when I moved from having my own organization that I was managing the incomes of those educators that were working through my organization. I got to a point where, like, I don't want to do admin anymore, so I'm going to give you your own business back. Like, I would promote, I got the students in, I set up their environments, they just walked in, they taught the lesson, and then they left, and I paid them at the end of the week or the end of the month or even at the end of the year. Some teachers wanted to be paid at the end of the year. That's fine. I get to have the money for the whole duration of the year. They get it all. They book a holiday.
Yep.
It's fine. It's a part-time job for those types of people. But when I gave them their business, like, now you're in charge. You're now writing your own invoices. You're now booking your own. You're getting your own insurances. You're now in charge of managing the whole thing. Because I need to go and work on something greater, which is what we have now. Not one of those teachers are still teaching. Now, the problem for me is they had some great students who are now no longer learning.
Correct.
That's the impact.
Yeah.
So if a teacher gets flustered, pissed off, don't want to do admin anymore, they want to go work at Coles or do something else, then I don't want that. I want the teacher to be happy with what they're doing, love it, but don't be stressed out about the paperwork side of it. So we can take that from them. They can still do what they do, and they get paid at the end of every single week, which they're not getting now.
You brought a good point when you said a number of music teachers are, by virtue of being in the music industry, which is predominantly gig type industry, and they're all, in Australia there are sole traders. In other parts of the world they are freelancers. They call them different names, but essentially,
but you're revolutionizing it, and everyone's going to be called gig workers now.
Correct. Yes. And you in the common denominator is, so you're a solopreneur. You work for yourself. Either you do it full time, or you do it when you get the time. But from you being in the industry, and you've been, played different roles in the industry, what are some of the things that you're hearing from the music industry in general? Where is it heading? Is there any opportunities that you see, challenges that you see? What's the tagline that you see at the moment?
I'm on the focus group Council for Musicians Australia, and they have a lot of initiative. The tricky task that they're trying to invoke, is everyone that's performing gets a minimum of $250 per gig, per player. So if you're a band of 4, that's $1,000 a pub has to cough up. They're probably not doing that, depending on the pub. So the band says, well, what can you afford? Pub goes, we can do it for 700, we can do it for 800. All right, so everyone gets 200 instead of 250. But if the industry figureheads and the body tries to enforce 250, a number of things can happen, good and bad. The focus group that I'm on for Musicians Australia, they have some great ideas, but they have to be rolled out slowly and properly and effectively. Because I know that venues will say, we're not going to pay for a 4-piece band anymore, we're going to take a 3-piece. And if the 3-piece is okay to take $300 each, then that's cheaper than the 1,000, and they're getting a good deal. If the 3-piece goes, we'll do it for 200 each, there's $600. Now the venue's saving money. But the bands can't play like they used to play. Other way that can promote this is the tax incentives that will be provided to the venues to pay the performers their proper rate. So that's what the lobbying is all about. We're trying to get musicians to be paid correctly, but it shouldn't be something that's becomes a rule or a law.
Mhm.
It should be a feeling. The venue should be coughing up the right amount of money, whatever that figure is, based on what the band does, how they perform, how they engage, and how they attract an audience. If the band is an average band, it's going to police itself.
Yep.
They're not going to get booked because they didn't engage and they didn't bring an audience. If there's a band that's performing at a high level and they're 2 or 3 nights a week, then they're probably going to get booked more because they become something that's in the media, advertising, and if they're good with social media, they will also, bring that. So the band will become a brand.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's what used to happen back in the day. Becoming a brand is something that people would go and follow. But if you're a brand that the pub is paying for and the brand is not providing the pub with the right amount of revenue, because let's face it,
Yes.
that's why the pubs put bands on, or it's a legality that the venue must put on a band or music to compensate for pokey license.
Yeah.
Right? So there's so many factors. It's not just a matter of, hey, you're a musician, you're going to get $250. There's so many things that we have to carefully navigate because we could break the industry entirely by doing it the wrong way too fast. So we've got to gauge that. So when I say messy,
that's you gotta surgically, treat this.
You do. You can't just say, all right, now there's a rule, and it can never be governed, it can never be policed.
Yeah.
But I'm also on the council for the Music Teachers Association, and we are all about PL, professional learning opportunities. Yeah. But we want to make it professional learning. So you watching this podcast right now, you're doing this because you want to. I don't think you're getting any PL hours accredited to you so you can keep your job. Yeah. Maybe you are. If you are, that's great. But I would like to think that people do these professional learning because they want to, not because they have to. Mm-hmm. So venues should be paying the right amount because they want to. Correct. Not because they have to.
And that incentivizes the right behavior because they want to.
Right? Yep. And then the band's getting paid more. Yeah. So they're going to behave. Like, is that what you're saying? They act better. They act more professional. They don't rock up late. They don't.
And there's good quality music coming.
Absolutely. Up. Yeah. They know they're getting paid more, so they do more. They do better.
Yeah. That's a good insight. I would like to put, take a very futuristic view of the industry, and there's enough numbers, stats saying arts, creative industry in general across South Australia and across Australia is one of the key priorities for the government and for other industries to focus on creative people and the industry in general. But now, 2022, 2023, the hottest topic that has got us is the influence of AI disrupting the creative industry.
Right. Yeah.
You scroll down TikTok or Instagram, there's at least 1 in 5 telling, AI is disrupted, replaced designers, photographers. And there's also this narrative that happens across media that say AI is coming for musicians. Now, as a musician, as a guardian of music educators, as an industrialist.
You're calling me a guardian?
Yeah.
You have wings that pop out.
How do you see? There are. I've been having a chat about this with different players in the creative space. Do you see this as an enabler, or do you see this as an?
It wouldn't be a relevant podcast if we didn't talk about AI, would it?
I know.
It would be pointless. Like if this podcast doesn't say AI, then it's not going to meet the algorithms that it needs to meet. So SAMii stands for Student Administration Management Interactive Intelligence.
Yeah.
Now we
come up two eyes.
Two eyes. We come up with that name 5-6 years ago, way before AI was a big scary beast that it is today. Yeah. It could have been SAMii with an A and an I. It could have been SAMii, sam.ai. But interactive intelligence. I've had some good chats with some pretty successful, fun, amazing humans that are professors and doctors about the rise of AI, which could be the demise of interactive. There are so many benefits to AI. I use it all day, every day. For example, I had a band rehearsal last night, and this is just a simple version, and you have to be creative enough to use it well.
Yeah.
If you're not creative, you don't get to use it in the way that's intended, and it'll be left behind. So Corel Draw, go back to when that came out, 1995, for example. It was one of the hardest products to use. And if you really wanted to use it, you would learn how to use it. But you can get the same effect by using something far similar.
Yep.
AI, same deal. It can be extremely complex to get those end results. But if you're not willing to put in the work to make it happen, then it's not going to replace. If there's not enough creative people using an AI product, then it's only going to stay at a certain level. We got creative people like Elon, super smart people of the world that are trying to slow it down. I don't know how he changed his mind on that. I think maybe, but if you're not creative, you don't know how to use the product.
Yep.
I play drums for a big part of my life. The only thing I've done longer than play drums is teach drums, and I've played since I was 10. I've got 4 drums in front of me, buckets with lids, really, and a kick drum. I can only hit the thing, but I have to be creative in the way that I play it.
Yep.
AI can create that too, and it has been creating that for so many years. Drum machines.
Yes.
I still get paid to go to studios to do gigs because, funnily enough, as a drummer, we want to play as precise as possible with a human-centric feel. A robot cannot play like a human, even if it's programmed to play like a human.
Yep.
So there's a big difference to a drummer in a studio getting paid thousands of dollars to record an album versus the cheap-ass, tight-ass producer that goes, we can just use a drum machine for that. There are some songs where you only need a drum machine.
Yep.
And it's totally fine because it doesn't need to be a created drum part. Or it can be created. And I've actually had albums given to me where they've created the entire drum part. And my job was to replay that note for note, but as a human.
Okay.
So I'm going back 10 years when that stuff was happening. So the drum part would be created. What's the name of that? I can't remember. There's a product where you can literally dial in the complexity of the drum part.
All right.
It goes from really simple to really complex. And you just find what works.
What works. Okay.
And it just keeps looping that. It's been around for years.
Yep.
So I'm not worried as a musician. As a music educator, someone has to creatively program this platform to read and understand the student personality type, their language, how they felt today. Is their lesson before recess or after recess? Have they had too much fairy bread?
Yeah.
They're all factors.
Yes.
And unless someone creatively is programming a device that reads all those things, and knowing that there might have been an upset in the family, there could have been a death in the family recently, and a human has to navigate those.
Yes.
And the good thing about musicians is generally we're pretty in tune with people. That's kind of our job. We kind of have to be. If you don't like people, you probably shouldn't be a musician because we're providing entertainment for musicians, for people as musicians. So I don't know, maybe there is something that will just pop into the ether in 5, 10, 15 years that make a music educator obsolete. And if you think that a YouTube video where choose your own adventure or an online video platform, choose your own adventure is the key, then I've got those as well. And I cannot navigate or I cannot determine where my student is in the process. They get to the end of a video.
Yep.
They get the code, which pops up on the screen. They can only get that code when they've got to the end of the video. It just plays through. They get the code that takes them to the next thing. They may have not done any of the tutorials in the video.
Yeah.
And they get to the end of Series 7, Video 7, Series 1, and they get a certificate. It's all automated.
Yep.
There's a difference between AI and automation. And I don't know how the student is. They're an online program. I have conversations with them. They join my online chat groups. We do video classes occasionally. But I can't hear them. They could be picking their nose and getting rewarded for that.
Fast.
And then I'm two minds of taking it away or taking it down because I don't want people to go, I come from the school of Pete. This is how I play drums.
Yeah.
I can't stop them while they're mid. Say no, you just got to just tweak that a little bit. You don't want that movement. You want that movement. Our arms hinge like this, but the drums aren't side to side unless you're playing in a marching band. The drums are down this way. It's paint, wax on, wax off, paint the fence, Miyagi. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I take it.
I'm going to clip that in, all right? So I'm running to reference a movie here, and I do it in my classes. So Daniel's son is about to paint a fence. So he's got the bucket, and he's like, painting this fence. And first, you must paint fence. So he's painting the fence and he's just stabbing the fence with a brush. And Mr. Miyagi comes out, ah, da, 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 da. No, all in wrist. And you get that movement happening. And karate is an art form. People learn it for so many different reasons.
Yep.
And Tai Chi is a slow version of that. It's just relaxation and it engages and moves all parts of your body. And in playing drums well, you have to get that movement because otherwise you're fighting against your own body.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the video, I can't see if they're that or that. I can pop up reminders. Remember, I was A for banana, you know, like what? If my students are watching, they get that. So your drumsticks are going to come in like this. So that means your wrists are like that. Once again, I can't see them if they're watching a video.
Yeah.
So that's where the human thing is
really
so important. And it's interactive intelligence.
Yep.
I need to be intelligent and in tune with what you're doing as a student. And there's some interaction there. I'm working with young kids and young adults, and I need to bring them through the world of what it is today. Drums is just a piece of it.
Yep.
It's a trick. You know, drums, you're learning drums, but you're actually learning the whole brain. You know, there's so much more to it than just a drum kit.
Yeah.
And I'm taking these kids through the process. So I have to be in tune with what they're doing, how they're feeling. So show me a robot that can do that, I'll buy in.
I think you know, just the key takeaway for me was, you know, at least I see founders, you know, especially you know, like you, who are very passionate about the industry, also see AI as an enabler, and they're not scared about it. They want it to be better. I remember on one of this Russell Peters you know, comedy where he says, "Smartphones is built for smart people."
Oh, okay.
It's not the phone is smart; it's for the people to be smart to use the phones. Same as AI, you know, you got, and it helps you to become more efficient, more productive.
One quick story about efficiency. My band rehearsal last night. While we're playing songs, we've got a performance coming up. I pulled together some musicians. We don't often play together. We're like, let's just get to a room and we'll just figure out what songs we're going to play at a gig that's coming up, a corporate show. And by the end of the few hours, we've come up with 43 songs. Just from, you've done that, we've done that, let's play. We played them all through. And while I'm playing, literally while I'm playing, I've got my laptop and I'm just typing in some letters that kind of somehow badly represent the song name that we're playing. It's very bad. Like it's half the letters are missing. I've wrong. I'm like, doesn't matter. I'll go through it later.
Yeah.
I took the whole thing out. I chucked it into AI chatters, and I've gone,
fix this for me.
Yeah, these are poor attempts at song names. Please provide a list with song names and bands. Done. I didn't have to sit through and make any edits at all. It was perfect.
Nice.
And that saved me an hour, maybe half hour. But you know what? I'd rather do this. I'd rather do things that I like doing,
correct,
than typing on a keyboard.
So if I, you know, talking about the future, this brings me to the next question, which is, what's the next big thing from SAMii?
Once we've got the music education space sorted and we're taking care of, let's just say 100,000 music educators at a really low, simple number. Remember how many there are globally. 100,000 music educators with 40 students each. SAMii's at that point doing quite well. We've got an office, we've got a bunch of people. It's doing some good. We've also, at that point, we would have a charity link as well. So educators can choose charities to donate. We are so confident you'll make more money as an educator. We're going to help you give some of it away. So the next best thing for SAMii, the next step for SAMii will be not just music education.
Yep.
Doesn't need to be rebranded because nothing in the title says anything about music.
Yeah.
It's student administration management. So if you're a soccer coach, you've got students. If you're a cricket coach, you've got students. If you're a cricket coach, if you're good at it, you've spent your life running around on an oval hitting balls over fences. You haven't been dealing with admin. So we can help that as well. We can make sure that you are getting the students and keeping them entertained, keeping them engaged as your job needs you to do, and the bills are getting paid as well.
Nice.
So we're going to increase this not just from student music education, but any form of tuition. And that just scales it through the roof.
Exciting. And I'm not surprised with the future, and I'm so excited that SAMii is there to disrupt not just the music
Mm.
industry, but generally any industry that
Help me
requires.
with disrupt. I need to come to you for this advice now. So I don't know if I'm trying to disrupt.
I
People,
think disruption is providing immense value to someone in a format that currently is not available. Yeah, I'll take Uber for example,
Mm.
right? Uber did not start a new industry.
No,
Uber disrupted an existing
absolutely.
industry. What
Yeah.
that made was,
Mm.
instead of you standing on the road and waving at random taxis for
Yeah.
you to pick up,
Yeah.
you pick up the app and click a button and
Mm.
somebody comes and
So
pick
that
you.
disrupted the taxi industry.
Correct. So you are bringing immense value to an existing industry.
Mm.
It's just that it's currently not available.
But disruption means that I've upset someone on the other side of the fence. So taxis are not happy.
I know.
And yeah, but that's okay. They could have come up with a scenario. They could have created Uber.
100%.
And the hotel chain could have created Airbnb.
Yeah.
But they didn't because they never thought it was a threat. The industry that I'm in, I now have created this product, but I'm not disrupting. I'm not upsetting. I'm not taking any money from anybody. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I'm creating something that is like, oh, but they're going to lose jobs. I'm like, no, actually, no. We're going to help musicians stay happy and earn money. Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about that. I'll workshop that with you because
we should.
Smarter man than I am. So I disrupting the industry. Maybe there needs to be another word there. Exciting the industry. We could.
Yeah. Accelerating,
progressing. Yeah. We need to be
amplifying.
We all need to be progressive.
Innovating.
If you don't innovate, you're left behind.
Yeah. 100%.
If you don't adopt to the innovation as well.
That's one of the reasons, when we look at companies that we are working with, we were watching, and we get really fascinated by the amount of not just their passion they bring it to building their community and product, but also how they see their whole industry as a whole. And for the listeners out there, at this very podcast, we have brought amazing people from all the way from creative industries to film crews to coaches to Uber drivers and everybody has shared a very similar passion and a shameless protection for their industry. And I really appreciate you bring that forward. I think this is where I do wanted to let you listeners know that we my Gigsters have got an amazing opportunity to partner with SAMii.
Exciting. Very cool.
We are shamelessly following everybody who's in the gig industry. I'm like,
yeah, we want
you doing amazing stuff.
Yeah,
we want to be in your tent, right?
Right on the shoulders of giants.
Yes. So we're so excited. We are so excited to be helping and supporting a growing community of music educators. But I've got a question for you.
Okay.
I want to hear from your own words. This is definitely not scripted, fellows. What do you think this partnership between SAMii and My Gigsters would bring? What is in your mind?
Apart from world peace,
happening soon.
Right. Have the same problems that all your gig economy audience have. My audience are doing it tough when it comes to trying to get their invoices paid. So we're solving that problem. But we don't want to solve all the problems because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. But I know that they could do with some help in regards to running a business properly. I think there are many, I'll get to your point in a second. There are many educators who probably shy away from wanting to run a business. They just want to earn some money. Tax, terrible, like bad. But wouldn't it be great if that stuff just happened magically? And that would be the benefit of us collaborating, because my organization would provide all my educators with a weekly revenue that they're not currently getting for the work they're doing. So they're working all these hours and then they have to work extra hours to get paid for the hours they've worked. The extra hours are free. They're not getting paid for those. So we know they're now getting supported. They're getting paid for the work they've done. We want to make sure they know and they understand that they're running a business, and there comes a time when they're going to have to pay for the privilege of being in this beautiful country with clean streets and no potholes on the streets. And that comes in a form of tax. And if you don't pay it, you have to pay more of it, and you can get in trouble. So if you're a music educator and you're running a business, you need to pay tax, right? So with a partnership or an alliance with My Gigsters, we know that portion will support our music educators even more. So not only are we helping them supporting them in getting paid the right amount for the work that they've done and giving them enough money that they can actually give some away to good charities as well,
Yep.
but minimize their tax and pay the tax that they have to pay when they have to pay it.
Correct.
As well as allocating some money aside so they can have a day off here and there and not have to stress. So music teachers, right? Let's go to normal teachers who are on $100,000 a year. Normal teachers are not as cool as music teachers, but they're definitely needed, and there's a lot of them. So they're the ones that work in high schools, primary schools, and they work with 30 in a classroom. They get paid for the entire year. They get 2 weeks off every 10 weeks and then 7 weeks over Christmas. There are still things they have to do outside of hours.
Yep.
So they still work a lot of hours in their week. It's not like they go home at 3:30 when the kids do and they put their feet up. They have to do a lot more work. So for those who think teachers don't do a lot of work, they still have to do a lot of work outside of their schooling hours. But a music educator, if we're not teaching, we're not earning.
Yeah.
And if you're teaching like I am, 98% of my students are within a school. And if the school's not operational, I don't have my students, which therefore I don't have my income. So there's 2 weeks every 10 weeks, and then there's 7 weeks over Christmas where it's
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
It gets pretty. If you're not managing your money correctly throughout the year, it gets to the end, and then stupid things happen.
Yes.
You have an extra couple of weeks off because of whatever reason. COVID happens, and we're like term off, a year off, and then you've got there might be an illness, so you can't go, or it's a people free day, or a school strike on the day that you need to be earning your money, and there's nothing you can do about it. So these are all things that you need to try and factor into your business, and that seems to be a pretty heavy load for a lot of music educators.
Yep.
Because we're pretty cool, we're pretty chilled. It's cool, it's fine. My significant other is making all the money. We've got it covered.
Yeah.
But why don't you be the one bringing home the bread and butter? You can be. You can earn $100,000 as a music educator. I wrote a book on that. Maybe we can tag it in this thing. It's not hard to earn triple figures as a music educator and have time to yourself.
Yep.
And have money to pay for that time for yourself. What was your question?
Yeah, I think you've answered my question. I think what excites us in this opportunity
the partnership, right? So we can manage. Sorry to cut you off again. I'm terrible. I'm never coming back on the show, and that's not because of me. It's because of my invitation. Yeah, so I'm excited because I can provide the fundamentals, but the other things that my gigsters can provide are so beneficial to people that are running their own solopreneur business.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of this episode. I don't want to end this part. We'll end. We've told this to all our guests. This is your first episode of Gigpod, but not the last episode.
Yeah.
We do want you to come back.
Great. And you haven't had to kick me. Stop talking now.
Yeah, we will definitely have Pete back on the show at some point where he's going to share the next level of conversation that we can have about SAMii and the future of SAMii. For those folks who have patiently listened to us so far, thank you so much.
Excitedly listening. They're excited, not bored.
Yeah.
This is fun.
But I do want you to do something. As part of listening to this, I want you to go check out. Go check out SAMii.com.au. SAMii with 2 I's. SAMii.com.au. And if you are a musician who wants interested in music education or a music educator, and you're like, oh my God, this is exactly the problem I have, there's a link for you to pre-register and you can directly connect with Pete and you'll be onboarded into SAMii's amazing tool. So head on to SAMii.com.au. The link is in the description. Feel free to go check it out.
Yep.
And Pete is also very approachable. So he's on LinkedIn.
My door is always open.
Yes.
I may not be in my office, but the door is, make yourself at home. But find me anywhere. I'm happy to chat, be involved, be engaged.
Yes, we'll put Pete's social media links also in the description so you can go connect with him. He's an amazing person to connect and just talk about different things. That's one of the reasons why this episode can't be contained.
No.
Because we could just keep going on. Yeah. But thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank
Sounds
you so
like
much.
he is containing it.
But with with all of that, I really wish an amazing future for SAMii
Mm.
and the impact that will bring to the
Mm.
education
Thank
sector.
you.
But also excited about this partnership with my
Beautiful.
gigsters. We love what's happening
Great.
and the contribution that you and SAMii is doing. So
Mm.
super excited. So, listeners up there, thank you for tuning into this episode. If you haven't checked us out, head on to mygigsters.com.au and you will see a bunch more cool stuff out
Mm.
there. And I will see you in the next episode. And until then, I'm signing off from Benji and Pete.
Thank you.